Turn the lights down and just put this on. It's right behind you. Johan.
There's nothing this parliament can do. With or without you, people are going to occupy land.
Death, horrible death. And those people in many cases are being executed. They're being executed. And they happen to be white, and most of them happen to be farmers. And that's a tough situation. I don't know how you explain that.
Completely against what he was saying, even in the parliament. And they're a small minority party, which is allowed to exist in terms of our constitution.
But you do allow them to take land.
No.
You do allow them to take land.
Nobody can
and
take
then when
land. There is quite
nothing happens.
Matters. So the issues that concern you as the United States,
those are all deaths.
Yeah.
Now I will say apartheid, terrible. That was the biggest threat. That was reported all the time.
Mr. President, why are you lying to everybody around the world that there's somehow this mass genocide of white farmers in South Africa right now? You think I'm just making this up? I would love to answer your question. Mr. President, please let me take this one. Sure, go on ahead. To be clear to everybody in this room and everybody around the world, there is not a mass genocide of white people going on in my country. Really? Okay, can somebody turn off the lights? I got a movie to show you.
Shoot to kill. Come on, sir.
Mr. President, what about the $400 million plane from Qatar? Are you serious right now? Mr. President, that video does not prove that there's mass genocide going on in South Africa. Simply because there is no mass genocide of white people going on in my country. Trust me, I know by now how the fake news media works. I make sure to come with receipts. I just showed you a clear video of some of your leaders chanting for the unaliving of white farmers. I just read off articles where white farmers were unalived. Don't even try to tell me this isn't going on. Done with your fake news.
Hello guys, and welcome to the Joy Report. In today's video, we're going to talk about Trump's awkward meeting with South African President Cyril Ramaphosa and white people's hilarious reaction to the same. I mean, this might be the most embarrassing Oval Office meeting in recent US history, and that's saying a lot. The president invited South African President Cyril Ramaphosa to the White House and then proceeded to turn the meetup into an awkward meeting. Instead of discussing trade, security, or diplomacy, Trump insisted there was a genocide happening against white farmers in South Africa, and then, and this is real, he dimmed the lights, rolled a video, and showed pictures, except some of the images he presented, they weren't even from South Africa, they were from the Congo. If this is the kind of content you enjoy, please consider subscribing, liking and sharing so that YouTube may recommend it to a wider audience. And so now, without further ado guys, let's go straight into this video. But first, let me play you a few videos on this matter and I'll come back with my commentary. As a side note, all credit goes to the creators of these videos.
Donald Trump today lectured the president of South Africa about a debunked conspiracy theory that there's a white genocide taking place in South Africa. There isn't. Trump insisted there was. The South African president said no. So Trump dimmed the lights and put on like videos proving that there was actually a white genocide. He brought out leaflets of material proving it. It's all fake. It comes from actually white nationalists, racists, far-right racists have created this crazy theory saying like white people are getting wiped out left and right by blacks in South Africa. It's not true. There is a rural crime problem in Africa, in South Africa. It affects whites and blacks equally because basically it just happens because you're in the rural area. All the statistics show this. It literally doesn't exist. But Trump claimed it did. And like I said, cornered the president of South Africa. And as only Trump can do, insisted, no, you're wrong. It's true. Dim the lights. I'm going to show you videos. Guess who else has been putting out this claim? Tucker Carlson, the Fox News host who got kicked out of Fox News because his lies cost the network almost $1 billion because of his lies about the election in 2020. Really just outrageous stuff, but, you know, this is what we voted for. I didn't vote for it.
Trump just had the weirdest meeting in the Oval Office today. Like, it might top the attack on Zelensky. Because he was hosting the president of South Africa, and at first, it was fine. They were joking. Trump was like, he called me, and I said, how'd you get this number? And then a reporter asked why Trump decided to admit white South Africans as refugees, but not people who are actually in need, and then it just spiraled out of control. Or with Trump falsely claiming there was a genocide against white people in South Africa, which then creates this back and forth where the president of South Africa is trying to explain to Trump why he's wrong and Trump's just being Trump. But then at one point, the president pointing out that the golfers that he brought with him and a portion of his cabinet that are there with him are white, and he said if there was a genocide, they wouldn't be here. He then tells Trump to listen to the voices of South Africans, but Trump then has the lights turned out and they play clips on a TV of what Trump claims proves that there's a genocide. With then Trump pulling out a big stack of printed out articles, and so the South African president kicks it over to the white Secretary of Agriculture to explain that a genocide is not happening. But with Trump then threatening to involve Elon because Elon's from there. And notably, in the past, Elon has said that Starlink wasn't allowed to operate in South Africa because he wasn't black. And well, in this meeting, the South African government was talking about how they need it and haven't been able to get it. And then a reporter asked Trump about the plane Qatar, definitely didn't bribe him with, and Trump goes ballistic over it, and so then...
I'm sorry, I don't have a plane to give you.
I wish you did. I'd take it. I would take it. If your country offered the United States Air Force a plane, I would take it.
So in today's episode of Donald Trump embarrasses himself and the entire country in the process, he had a meeting today with the South African president and launched into a tirade about how there is, quote unquote, white genocide happening in South Africa. And to be clear, there is not white genocide going on in South Africa. No human rights groups say that there is. The government doesn't say that there is. No news outlets say that it is. This is the work of Elon Musk and trying to protect these rich colonial farmers and move them to the United States on our dime. All while he is telling other people who are trying to come to this country and claim refugee status to not come here. So if you're keeping score at home, brown people who claim refugee status are not welcome in the United States, and white South African farmers who are not facing any sort of need for a refugee status are being granted entry. Like, if these guys don't want to be called racist, they really need to stop doing racist shit like this. It is so obvious to anyone paying attention that they are clearly letting these people come in because they're white, and they're keeping the other people out because they are black and brown.
Ramaphosa looked like a man trying to survive the most uncomfortable group project presentation of all time. And meanwhile, white Americans watching this couldn't stop laughing or cringing. So here's how it went down. Trump welcomed President Ramaphosa with the usual handshakes and forced smiles. But then things got weird real fast. He dimmed the lights in the Oval Office, literally, then queued up a video that was supposed to show the genocide happening in South Africa. The video claimed to show attacks on white farmers in South Africa, but people later pointed out that some of this evidence was actually from the Congo. Yes, the Congo, a completely different country with a completely different history, and nowhere near the farms Trump was crying about. Ramaphosa sat there, calmly stating the facts. There is no genocide. He explained that South Africa struggles with crime like many nations, but there is no state-sponsored targeting of white farmers. But still, Trump was locked in.
Donald Trump seems to be on a mission to have ever-increasingly embarrassing meetings in the Oval Office. Most recently, he hosted the president of South Africa, who he looked in the face and told, "Your country has a white genocide." And the president was like, well, respectfully, no, that's not happening. And Donald Trump's like, yes, it is. And then he pulled out evidence, only that evidence has all been debunked. Like, he showed a video of all of these little white crosses along a roadway. And Donald Trump said, these are burial sites right here. And then he said, each one of these white things you see is a cross. There's approximately 1,000 of them. They're all white farmers, the family of white farmers. Those people are all killed, Trump added. So first of all, apparently people are just buried on top of each other along a roadway, by his logic. No, those are not burial sites, nor do they represent dead farmers, and you don't have to take my word for it. You can take the word of the man who put up those crosses. There were 2 farmers who were killed, and as part of a protest to that, they went along this roadway and put white crosses up that were then removed after the protest. They didn't represent individual people. It was just about these 2 people. Then Donald Trump showed a video where a person in a red beret repeatedly chants, kill the Boer, kill the farmer, and speaks about taking land without compensation. That person is Julius Malema, who founded the small but radical party Economic Freedom Fighters after being expelled from the African National Congress, of which the president is a member. And after playing that video, the president explained to Donald Trump that does not represent the policies of this government. South Africa's opposition agriculture minister also said many parties had worked to keep extremists out of government. That guy and his group are extremists, They are not in power. And then Donald Trump pulled out a photo and he's like, these are dead white people who were killed in the genocide. The picture he's showing is from the Congo, because Africa is a continent that has many countries within it. It wasn't in South Africa that happened. It was in the Congo. And in response, the president of South Africa, who had to sit there and be berated by a man who confidently declared things that were categorically false and used evidence that was inaccurate and not true, his only response he could really say was, I'm sorry I don't have a plane to give you. Because apparently this administration, if you do something like gift them a plane, they forgive all kinds of terrible things. But today, my feed is full of conservative creators who all made the same video where they look at the camera and have music playing and they nod as text on the screen reads, Donald Trump confronting the president of South Africa about the white genocide is exactly what I voted for. Is it? You voted for theatrics based on conspiracy theories that are false? Using fake information? That's what you voted for?
The whole room was tense. South African officials looked stunned, but Trump, he was on a roll, presenting false evidence, oblivious of how ridiculous it all looked. Once the footage was out, white folks across the internet exploded, not in outrage, but in absolute second-hand embarrassment. President Ramaphosa deserves an award. Through all of this, he stayed composed. He reiterated that there's no Genocide. He reminded the room that South Africa is a democratic nation and everyone, black, white, or otherwise, faces the challenges of crime. He did it with grace, even as Trump basically accused him of lying. And what made the moment even more memorable was a subtle joke Ramaphosa threw in about a plane. In a lighthearted comment, he mentioned that if he had a jet like the Qataris gifted Trump, maybe he would have brought one too. It was his way of breaking the tension and slightly poking fun at the absurdity of the situation, all without losing his grace. It's safe to say that Trump didn't make the point he thought he did. Instead, he made himself and the country look ridiculous again. And at the end of the day, this wasn't just a blunder. It was a full-blown Oval Office meltdown. Trump tried to sell a fantasy, using false evidence from the wrong country to the president of South Africa. And the internet, especially white Americans, reacted the only way they could, by laughing, cringing, and apologizing. He thought he was making a point. Instead, he proved he doesn't know the difference between South Africa and the Congo, or fact and fiction. And honestly, Ramaphosa handled it like a pro.
The South African president just shaded Donald Trump in the Oval Office in front of all the media. This is South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, and he had a very tense meeting with Donald Trump in the Oval Office today, in which Donald Trump claimed that there is a white genocide in South Africa. Trump claimed that white South African farmers are being attacked, chased out of their homes, and that it's basically a white apartheid. The president of South Africa clearly was ambushed, had no idea that this was going to be coming up, and you can tell he was very surprised. Trump played speeches at rallies that he claimed showed and supported his claims. The president of South Africa said, no, that does not. What they're saying is criminal in our country. Dozens of Afrikaner refugees actually came to the United States last week after they had their applications fast-tracked by the administration. In the middle of their meeting, it was announced that the Air Force had accepted the plane from Qatar, the one that is going to be gifted, the $400 million plane, and accepted by the Trump administration. And President Ramaphosa said, well, sorry, I don't have a plane to give you. Trump said, I wish you did. I'd take it. The whole exchange was tense, was awkward. The president of South Africa many times was trying to steer the conversation back to normalcy, we'll say. And President Trump just kept going on this white genocide in South Africa.
So what do you all think of Trump's presentation? Did you cringe, laugh, or both? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I would love to keep this discussion going. Otherwise, that's it from me. I also have another video about the Liberation Day tariffs being termed illegal by federal judges. And if you enjoy such kind of content, please click up here and enjoy. Also, consider subscribing, liking and sharing because it helps me grow my channel. But for now, thank you so much for watching. And until the next time, the Joy Report out.